Have I done? I don't even remember how to do this. You're listening to the world famous White Roof Radio, Woofcast number 686, recorded September 20th, 2022. Of course, listener supported. Duh. Anyway, let's do a show. Hey, everybody, it's DB in Arizona. Brand new episode of the world famous White Roof Radio. Talking about Mini Cooper stuff. Oddly enough, that's what we do here. Joining us tonight, as always, my good pal, Mr. MotoringStripes.com, Mr. Todd Pearson, MotoringStripes.com. Join us tonight. Todd, say hi.
I am here. Hello.
The good Reverend, our chief mechanic, Mr. Chad Miller from Detroit Tune, DetroitTune.com has joined us as well. Chad?
I am on here and unmuted.
Wow, nice. And of course, Mr. Bridgers joined us from motoringfile.com. We got a lot of really cool stuff to talk about. Gabe, say hi.
Hi.
That was very cheery. Oddly awkward. So we're going to talk about Mini Cooper stuff because that's what we do. I don't have anything new because I'm still not driving my car, but like one time a week or something, maybe twice a week. So I'm going to have to defer to you guys, especially Todd, because I need an update on the JCW cars, please.
It was good, although I drive mine so little, too. I get into it the other day, and I drive up to the dealer. I'm doing a couple of quick jobs, and I'm there for a couple of hours, and it's warm. It's in the 90s this week. Yeah. And so I get in, and I think it's the nature of the automatic car. And Gabe, you can tell me whether this has ever happened to you. Is I start the car and it starts up and then it immediately dies.
Wait, what?
And I'm like, what? And then I start it again and everything's fine. But it didn't finish starting, so I don't know whether I let my finger off the starter to it. It just was weird because it should just be a momentary hey, we're gonna fire this thing up. It started up, went run, and then just died, and then started up again. It's only happened to me twice. But it's the weirdest thing. It's okay, there's not enough gas. I don't know. I can't even explain what it is. Why it does this. It's only happened twice in 8 months, but it happened to me just day before yesterday. I'm at the dealer.
Yeah, that's the first.
Well, it was just weird. And the fact that it's an automatic, it shouldn't have anything to do with it because the only difference is the clutch. You've got that clutch pedal with the release that has to be in to start the car. Mm-hmm. And in the automatic, your foot has to be on the brake. Now, it may have been also that my foot was partially on the brake and I let it off too quickly. And it was because sometimes I get in and I hit the button and my foot's not on the brake and it yells at you. It's hey, put your foot on the brake before the car won't start. Okay. So I'm thinking that I was a little premature, with that. I let my foot off the brake as the car was starting, and then it just dies. It didn't finish the startup mode. But more research is going to be necessary into this because I don't think it's an issue. I don't think the car's got a problem. I mean, I'm right there at the dealer, and I'm thinking, do I go in and tell him this? I'm like, nah, that just seemed like a fluke to me. So, and there's no code or anything like that, but. So
interesting. One thing I can say that I do like about the B38, whatever motor's in my car, is it's got 6 gears in the transmission, and I usually only use 3 of them.
I've got 8 dB, and I usually only use 4 or 5.
Yeah, because my car goes first to second, and then second to fourth, and then fourth to sixth. I don't use the top row at all, hardly at all.
I gotta say, when you put the JCW Countryman into 8th gear, it's it's not even on.
I bet.
Whoa! You're not going fast enough, Todd. You can get those revs up.
I figure 85 or 90 miles an hour, but still, it's just kind of just cruising along like it's idling.
That's an Autobahn gear. That's for going fast.
Yeah. Nice. So I rarely get it into 8th gear, but I do love the manual shift and the sport mode, the sport automatic mode, very much in the Countryman.
Yeah,
nice.
So I've got numerous things to discuss. One of them is a bit of an announcement on my Mini.
All right.
Yes, please.
So as you know, I've Motor and File has been lucky enough to be been getting long-term loans from Mini to always sort of stay abreast of the current product, to get a feel for what's going on within the brand, to be able to speak about the cars as they come out. So it's been a fantastic. It's obviously been a fantastic situation for us, and I think many as well. However, as you know, there's a massive problem with production right now. So they don't have cars. Nobody has cars. So Motoring File has not had a car for it's about 3-4 months now, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
So very limited opportunity to choose a car, if you will. So I had a choice, and I thought it would be interesting to go a little bit different, but also do something that is, I think, very timely given the current special edition situation. And so next Tuesday, I will be receiving a Mini Countryman Untamed Edition.
Really?
It's the standard Cooper S. So it's the first time I have had a non-JCW car for quite a while, which is fine. In fact, the only thing I'm going to miss, I think, right away are the brakes. That's actually the biggest thing that will be a shame. But otherwise, I'm excited about it. I mean, the combo of that car itself is awesome.
Yes.
It's a really, really cool looking Countryman. The interior is probably my favorite part. So yeah, I think it's going to be a fantastic daily driver. Really, really excited to get my hands on it, to live with it, and write about it.
Wow, that's very cool. I was actually, Gabe, I was hoping that you were going to say that you're getting a newly lightly restored 2006 Sidecar 53 JCW.
So I have one.
All black on black. Did you actually get that?
I have a black on black 2006 ready to go if I want it. It needs an engine.
Yeah. Well, that's not a big deal.
I mean, it's not. I still say you do a B swap into it.
There's only a few more left in the world.
I thought they were gone. From my understanding.
JCWs are gone, yes, but there's a couple of R53 standard engines left. And
really?
There's,
if you want a crate motor,
a couple. I'm like 2.
Well, here's just an example. So I went to Philadelphia a week ago and had a graphics day there, and did 9 cars on a Saturday, and of those 9 cars, 2 were R53s.
Yeah, no,
I think that's a pretty high percentage.
That's a really high percentage.
Yeah. I think it's a good time to pivot into something that's kind of interesting here. Is this a free flowing show?
We're totally free flowing, Gabe. Whatever.
So I want to get to Goodwood, which is, really incredible.
It looked like you had a great time. I want to hear about it. So
yeah, but first I want to talk about something else I drove, and I'm going to go back to the R53 that you just mentioned and the problem statement I had. So when I was in England, I had some awesome opportunities to do some things that I think are I'll be writing about at Motoring File. One of the things I did was I actually got behind the wheel of the Mini Heritage Recharged. So
you actually got to drive that car.
Yes. Wow. So
okay.
What is that? So that is a classic Mini that has been fully converted to electric. And it is converted at Mini's spec. Like essentially, Mini is contracting a company that does this to their spec, and is being sold.
What drivetrain is that, Gabe?
It is.
It's not the one that they're using the electric Mini, obviously.
Not. It is not. It is a. I'm not going to go into details.
Okay.
But I can tell you that it is an off-the-shelf, as they all are really, electric drivetrain with I think a 60 kilowatt battery pack.
Okay.
About 100-mile range. 0 to 60 can be turned up or down. It can be turned down to about, I think, just under 6 seconds. Not surprisingly, the limiting factor, of course, is traction.
Yeah.
And it is not cheap. So there's a couple things about it that are pretty interesting. Number one, it's an electric classic Mini. That's the most interesting thing about it.
Yes.
It's really, really cool. So the folks that do this, they take a very well preserved donor car. Can't really have any rust on it per se. The actual swap only takes like 4 or 5 days. Doesn't take long. If you need to do a full-on restoration, obviously that's a different thing altogether. But if you bring a well-sorted donor car, I mean, they basically take the suspension apart. They really refresh the car fully. The whole thing is 60,000 pounds.
Wow, that
60,000
to me doesn't sound horrible.
It's also expensive. Let's be honest. So it's not horrible, but it's expensive. And
it is expensive, but it doesn't sound like it really like that's like
not
okay.
awful.
That seems like what I would expect to pay for a car like that.
Right, and I mean the dollar to pound ratio is not so bad right now. But so this is, I mean, number one, it feels phenomenal. So I've driven classic minis, and I mean, they're amazing. And yeah, the engine is part of the charm, but it's not really the major part of the charm. The charm is really the chassis, the size, the immediacy of the entire thing.
Sure.
The electric engine and the drivetrain, not surprisingly, adds to that immediacy. It really is an incredible experience. I mean, it's kind of an epiphany in a way. Mm-hmm. There's regen, just like a normal car, not really, or I should say like a normal electric car. It's not dramatic, but it's there. Like I said, there's like 100-mile range, which is, gosh, I mean, given the car, like it's more than that's fine. I mean, nobody's gonna be road tripping in a classic electric Mini.
No.
Yeah, it's really impressive. It's really impressive. The build quality, everything about it. I was honestly pretty blown away.
Interesting. And you get to drive it.
I have the pamphlet here. And the manual supplement, in fact.
Well, okay.
That they gave me. So I can actually, when I get it, I can go through the entire thing. But it's really pretty amazing though, in that it's also done in a very sort of subtle way. Okay. There's not a lot that gives it away as an electric. I mean, even inside, they just replaced the fuel gauge with a range gauge, which is in itself pretty sweet. But what was really interesting is I got to talk to these guys. There's two folks that work on this. There is the folks that do that do a lot of the work, the actual sort of the refurbishment of the car, and there's another partner that has sort of engineered the drivetrain. So that partner is actually, I mean, quite literally moving to the United States. Really? So while this is going to be happening in excuse me, the UK, and it's a really cool program for the UK, that part of the company is actually going to open up offices in the United States, and they have ambition to bring this program and other programs like it to the States, which is, I think, really interesting. But I'll hold for questions, but it does get better.
If they bring it to the States, what car would they do in the States?
So that's where I talked to them a while about a concept that I have that I think we've talked about before is, guys, this is great. I love it. We should bring it to the States. You should bring it to the States. There aren't a lot of classic minis here. But what we do have a lot of is our engines that need drivetrains. We're not going to get new Eaton superchargers made. We're not going to get, I mean, these things, unfortunately, and Chad Chad, you know this. I mean, unfortunately, there's a major issue with those parts, and there's people are sort of at a crossroads at times, and they look at this and like, well, I'm going to spend so much money in this car, and what if something else goes out? There's just no more parts made. I think that if they can, through economies of scale, if they can get that price down, I mean, by down I mean like half of the cost, I think there would be a really like a legitimate market, not thousands, but at least hundreds of R50, R53 owners that would say like, yeah, actually, I would be interested in that.
Yeah.
I don't want to buy a new Mini. I don't want to buy a new electric Mini. I want my current Mini to be electrified. I want basically that car to feel like a brand new electric car. And I can only imagine
if Roxy would have been electric. Oh my God, that would have been awesome.
What'd you say?
If my R50 would have been electric.
Oh yeah,
dude, I would have kept that car for sure.
So yeah, so basically, I talked to them for a while about the market, about what we're seeing, about the part shortages, and I mean, they were very interested, and I think so. It's no telling what will happen, but I think it's a really interesting development, and it all comes back to the fact that driving this car, it was awesome. I mean, it was exactly what you'd expect, which is fantastic. It's immediate. It's quiet. There wasn't even a lot of rattles. Like, it was actually so well put together.
Really?
Yeah, it was really impressive. It was
Well,
very
it's
impressive.
interesting, Gabe, though, because one of the things that causes a rattle is the
The engine.
motion of the engine.
Yeah.
Rattling basically that.
You're
that
100%
movement,
right.
Right, is loosening all of the nuts and bolts and everything else. In an electric car, you don't have that motor that's causing that sort of the vibrations that are loosening everything and causing things to rattle.
You're so correct. So I was just in a classic Mini like the day before, driving all around Oxford and all around to the plant. And I, as soon as you get in it, I'm like, okay, I have to put my finger here and then here to stop that like resonance and stop the rattling there. And you're totally right, because when I got in the electric Mini, which is more or less the same age, nothing. I mean, there was a little bit here and there, but nothing like, there wasn't like plastic like buzzing, like. And you're right, it's derived from this thing basically spinning just a foot in front of it.
Yeah, this motor just vibrating back and forth constantly while it's being driven. Is eventually going to loosen things up. So
so it's a really interesting concept. I think, mark my words, man, it's going to happen. Like, there's going to be something, I think, semi-official at some point. I think Mini really wants to push this. I think they can do it with partners. I think there's going to be partners that are going to be willing, and it might not be a massive amount of folks who are going to throw down 30 to 50K for this, but there'll be enough. And I think it will be really interesting. And I think it's going to be really compelling, Yeah. R50 or R53, that's electric, that's done right. I think that's really cool.
I think it would also help keep some people around. It's like going, oh yeah, you know what? I can't have this car anymore, but you mean for 20 grand, I can make it electric and it'll be good. And it won't be kind of half-assed weird with cables hanging out all over the place. So let's do that.
Yeah,
do that.
It's shocking to realize the percentage of people who keep their Minis. People are still driving around in R50 and R53s who are like, I'm never letting this car go. I love it so much. And they've put like 10 grand into it to keep it on the road. So they're willing to do that. So Gabe, I think you're right. I think the business model is there because the passion that people have for a car like that. And they're like, well, if I'm going to put this money into keeping it going, maybe I'll just make the decision to make it electric. So I do think that the business case is there and it's valid.
Yeah. I think I agree.
And also another one that they should possibly look at would be like mid-90s Toyota Camrys and Grandpa Gold. Electrifying them.
All right, that's a bad idea.
That's
just a straight up bad idea.
Yeah.
No, you know the one that you see the picture of on Auto Trader, and you can actually smell
DB,
the picture
because
it smells like stale coffee and cigarettes.
If you had replaced Toyota Camry with 60s El Camino, I would have bought it.
That just wouldn't work.
Yeah,
that wouldn't work.
So that was one. That was one experience I had that I think is pretty, obviously pretty interesting. Did a drive around Oxford, etc., with a classic. And then of course did the Oxford plant tour as well.
Yeah.
A lot of cool stuff in there. You guys have been there. It's, I haven't been there since 2004, and they didn't have the body white facility there at the time. So that facility is pretty cool. It's all robots. It's totally wild. It's a really modern plant. It's very interesting to see how, we know the quality has been up dramatically. I think it's two parts. It's obviously components, and it's the process and the staff there, just doing a great job. And so it was really, really cool to see that all happen. In fact, they were on a break when I walked in, and then seeing them off their break and seeing them walk back to their stations and the music starting. It's just really cool. There's a lot of pride I could sense in what they were doing. It was really, really cool.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing is there's been enough of a tradition. They've been at this for 20 years now, making the new Minis there at Oxford. And so there is like a new heritage and a new pride in that. And I do agree that the quality, like both of my Minis now are the best built Minis I've ever owned, with literally no issues in either one of them. So for wherever that came from, they're winning because It's a solid car. And I got to say, this is why the service departments are suffering, is the new cars are just so good.
Right.
They don't need anything.
Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely true.
Now there are some fringe cases, where people have issues and stuff like that. So don't at us now. Although you can if you've had issues with a new F56 or F60 Mini. But man, it's not at all like it was in the 2010 to 2013 days of in the shop for 3 weeks out of the year.
Yeah, it's completely different.
Yep.
So that was my experience there. I mean, it was amazing. Once you see that plant, I highly encourage everybody to go there and check it out. It really gives you a different kind of appreciation for for Mini, for what they do, and obviously for the car you own, which is awesome. So
I thought it was a really cool experience. I was happy that we got the chance to do that.
Yeah, I think it's a must see. So from there, I went to Goodwood. Went to I can't think of the name of the town nearby, but essentially it's like Portsmouth, which is in the south of England, and to the Goodwood circuit. So the Goodwood circuit and the Goodwood Revival, and there's the Festival of Speed. There's all these things. As an American, I think we're vaguely aware of it, but I think a lot of people are like, okay, so what the hell is it exactly? Well, Goodwood as a concept is something that was born out of really just the track, and Lord March, who is the owner of this massive estate. His father's before him. His father's, it's a sort of typical English sort of thing, but he basically said, listen, I need to pay for this somehow. I need to be able to have this. It needs to work for me. And the classic sort of agriculture model, it doesn't work very well in the 21st century. So he loves motorsports and loves cars and just loves just the culture around it. And so his thought was, okay, so what if we created events and actually created a brand and created really sort of something that doesn't exist anywhere else in the world, which feels very classic and specifically very English. And so he created something called the Festival of Speed, which is this famous hill climb that goes up his driveway, quite literally, and in front of his house.
Nice.
Amazing. And which is, it's very, very cool. Tons of people go, and, it's great to see. The other main event is called the Revival. And the Revival is a 3-day event, almost a festival, really, if we were to use like American language here. It's a festival that celebrates the 1930s, 40s, and 50s of the automotive culture. And it is a nonstop series of races around the very, very famous Goodwood track, which used to be a Formula One track. I mean, way back in the day. So it's got a ton of history to it. Nice. And there is everything you can imagine inside and outside. There's a huge car show of the likes of which I've never seen. Like the size and scope of this entire thing is unreal. I mean, I have gone to Pebble Beach and the Quail and Monterey Car Week for, several times.
Right.
I mistakenly assumed that was the epicenter of all historic sort of car culture. It's not. I'm here to tell you there's something much bigger and actually much more impressive, and it's called the Goodwood Revival. It's much bigger. The cars there are just phenomenal. There's much more focus on classic cars there. But the other thing that's amazing about it is everybody is in period dress. Everybody has to wear something that is essentially sort of evokes the 1930s, 40s, 50s to early 60s, I think to 66. And so what it does that's amazing is like you feel like you're walking into another world, and it's really disarming, but it's also, this is a great thing about it. It strips away egos. There's no egos. Like you go to Pebble, you go to the Quail. I mean, it's a very different vibe. I mean, very, very different vibe. You go to Goodwood Revival, everybody is dressed up. Everybody is participating. We're all sort of enjoying this experience. You can't help but have a smile on your face. It's a completely different type of experience than I've ever had before. And on top of that, you see like literally like a 250 GTO, a Ferrari, literally the Ferrari that won Le Mans in 1961 that's valued at $100 million just driving by. I mean, the value of these cars is just unimaginable. It's definitely on par with a lot of the greatest, including Pebble, but it's so much more cool. I mean, it's so much less. There's so much less ego and douchebaggery going on, and it's just such a great place to just go and spend time. I just can't express enough. Like seeing even the airplane hangar where they had Mustangs and they had Spitfires and they had all these incredible planes from World War II. They had literally like a classic Formula One race. They had classic, sort of what do they call it? Not sedan racing, but the races they would have in the 60s where literally minis would race against the biggest
Everything
cars
else
from America. I mean, it was just unbelievable. And the minis were great. I mean, you see these cars now and you see them sliding through corners, and that's how they did it. And that's how they still do it today. It's just an incredible experience. And I mean, holy shit, I cannot express enough how, if you have any interest in it, please try to figure out how to do it, because it will be a massive, massive experience for you.
Nice. So, Gabe, I have a comment, and next time we talk to these guys, we'll have to point this out. So I'm looking at your picture that you posted of Charlie Cooper, one of my Cooper son, which is super cool. How come he wasn't wearing an ascot? It seems like that would have been really appropriate.
That's so that's what, I mean, that's kind of what you wear. I mean, he was racing. So
yeah, Gabe, I know, but I was just kind of making a joke. Sorry.
Yeah, he wasn't. So he was wearing, I did hang out with him later. We were both in tuxes at the ball, which
nice.
is, I'll get to in a second. So he's a great guy, by the way.
Tux.
What's that?
I did see pictures of you in a tux.
Yeah, it did happen. So Charlie Cooper is a great guy. So for what it's worth, holy cow, like we've met Mike Cooper before. Charlie Cooper's great. I mean, he's really, really a top bloke, if you will.
Nice.
His wife's also wonderful. So I mean, what's really cool about this is that I saw Jensen Button. I literally like shook hands and talked to Lord March. Wow. I saw Dario Franchitti. Jimmy Johnson was there. I saw him. You're just close to all these folks.
Right.
Not to mention all the Le Mans winners, there's so many amazing characters. So we have the experience of going to the revival for 2 days. And that in itself is a really cool experience, seeing these cars and seeing the races and just being around other folks who are dressed like you are. And we're sort of just enjoying that moment. I was sort of a once in a lifetime opportunity to go to the Goodwood Ball, the Revival Ball, which is a pretty, as you can imagine, a pretty cool event. A ton of photos on, I don't know where I've posted. I only post on IG. So
Instagram so far,
they'll be on Motorfile at some point. So I'm going to walk through the night because I think it's worth walking through because it's pretty epic. So I've always joked about the Black 7 series. They're real. They actually showed up.
Really?
7 of them. And we all got in the Black 7 series and we were whisked away to the Goodwood Revival. This is
that's like the longest. That's like our longest running joke.
Yes. And
it finally came to fruition.
It did. Wow. It did.
Wow.
In fact, that photo of me in a tux is in the back of that Black 7 series. And they were all black,
nice.
by the way. I'm not joking.
Of course they were. Of course.
So we drive up the driveway of Lord March, which is where the hill climb is. Mm-hmm. And we drive onto the track at Goodwood and then into the infield where the sun is just going down. Open the door and I hear the distinctive sound of a Mustang. No, make it not Mustang, sorry, of a Spitfire. Make it 3 Spitfires, basically doing acrobatics in the air to a crowd of onlookers, all dressed in tuxedos with champagne.
Nice.
Classic cars everywhere. Everybody's essentially mingling. It's like one of the most incredible experiences I've ever seen in my moments.
What you heard, Gabe, was the sound of Rolls-Royce engines.
Yeah.
Right.
That is what powers the Spitfires.
Right. And so you see these things, and again, I've got photos, I've got video I posted. It's just surreal. It's like it's like you're blinking. You're like, am I seeing this? Is this actually happening? So you walk in. There's a, gosh, I don't know. Again, I have photos of all this. Maybe 12 women with champagne sitting there for you to take. So you grab a glass. You walk in. You mingle. For lack of a better term. I saw Damon Hill there. He was the Formula One champion.
Yes.
And we're watching, and then the plane lands. And out comes a girl with a tray of champagne right to the pilot to make sure they get champagne right away.
Sure.
And we're sort of like, I'm just in awe taking photos. And then there's a solo bagpipe. I don't even know what's the term for it. Is it a bagpiper?
Yeah, I think that's what it is actually.
So he just walks through, and I'm like, everybody. I was like, oh, I think this means we follow him. I think that's what that means, right? He just kind of walks through and walks into this big tent and into, I think, where ultimately we should go, which is I'm told it was a tent, but it seemed like an actual building. And, I walk in, and then there's just this giant picture of the Queen. Of course, all of this celebration is subdued. It's not actually what it normally is. The night ended at midnight. It normally goes to like 3 a.m, I guess. And so we walk in, and, the experience is kind of hard to even put in words. Again, the photos will be on Money File. But the tables, the design of the entire interior, the band that played, and then again seeing Jimmy Johnson like having drinks like 3 tables from you, and with Dario Franchitti, and it's just unreal. I mean, the whole thing's unreal. I could go on and on, but it was an experience that I will hope to not forget, because it was that incredible, and it capped off an incredible experience. To me, there was something so special as an American going and seeing this, because this is something that feels like it doesn't exist anymore. And it does. It was also a special time with the Queen passing. At one point we cheers. I literally had to hold my glass up and say, like, to the King, which I feel like I may have lost my like American card for that, but I did it because it felt right. But it was, it was really a special time and a special moment to see all this, and an incredible thank you. I mean, huge thank you to Mini USA for inviting me to this. As you can tell, like I'm almost like struggling to like put it in words yet, because I've yet to write about it, and I've yet to even articulate in my head everything I saw. But it is a once in a lifetime experience. Highly recommend you try to go, because, by the way, you can go. It's nice. These are tickets you can buy.
Very cool. Very, very cool. So, Game, of course you own a tuxedo. So this was like, how did you end up going to this? Because I saw that you did the Mini USA thing, or the Mini thing, and then he's like, well, I'm here, I might as well go do Goodwood.
So it was part of a program that Mini USA invited me to. The program was, we're gonna fly in, we're gonna go to Oxford, we're going to, have a bit of tea. We're going to go get in some classic minis, drive around Oxford. We're going to drive back to the plant. We're going to do a tour. Then we're going to drive down to Portsmouth, actually drive down to another house, if you will, a hotel. Sure. And then from there to Portsmouth into Goodwood. So it was all part of an event. And it was well orchestrated, as always. It was done in conjunction with BMW Classic, which is BMW's arm that, as you can imagine, sort of services, takes care, and curates classic products, cars, etc. I can't stress enough how well the entire thing, and not just Goodwood, but the BMW event was very, very small, but really well executed. There's a BMW hospitality area, which is open to everybody, by the way. I'll have to put photos up, but the very, very typical sort of Bavarian food and drink there of the time period. Nice. It was a well orchestrated event, and I think the best thing about it for me is, I go on these press tours, these press events, and you drive new cars, and you have to write about them, and there's something like this. There's no pressure here to write about something necessarily. We're here to experience something. Sure. And
it's more of a celebration,
write about.
Right.
And I think we're all experiencing it at the same time. So I spent a lot of time with the global head of Mini marketing, by the way. Separate conversation. And what it does in these type of experiences, these events, is it really puts names to faces and makes everything so human. So I got to know this individual over the course of 3+ days, to the point where, we talked about our kids, we talked about trips we've done, we talked about these things that we love, and, coming back to Minnie and talking about some of the things that, and of course, there's a lot of things that are on the horizon they won't talk about, but there's a lot of things I'll talk about, and there's a lot of opinions that I think, I bring from the community into those conversations that I want them to hear. And I think it's really helpful for them, just being able to come into the conversation and talk about, I think, what the American enthusiast wants, what I think that has been missed in the past, or what I think is an opportunity in the future. These are all part of this event, these type of events. And, to me, it's hard to put value on that.
Nice. Very cool. Thanks for sharing that with us, Skip. That's actually really neat that you're able to do that.
Absolutely. I think Todd's asleep.
No, I'm here.
We're all going through motoring file, and I was going through all of your pictures on Instagram. It's just like, yeah, that was really cool. I was like watching all week while you were there. I was like, oh no, jealous. No, I'm still jealous. No, I'm really jealous. Oh yeah, I'm jealous of that, and jealous of that, and yeah, I'm jealous. It looks like you had a good time. So it's super awesome you got to do that.
It was a good time. Oh, I met Paul Smith, by the way. Paul Smith and
yes, saw that
the
too.
mini strip. That's a whole separate conversation.
That's a whole separate conversation. How was that in person? Was it cool?
It is so cool. I mean, I will say this: I get a sense, because it's a show car, it might rattle a little bit, but it's a show car,
Well,
it's
the things are held up, like the parts are bolted on the outside with like screws. It's it's gonna rattle.
Yeah. But I also
it's a rat rod, is what it is. It's a rat rod.
Cow, though. Paul Smith, by the way. I mean, I don't know if everybody knows Paul Smith. I mean, he's an idol of mine. He's a designer, fashion designer mostly, but he's like 75, and the guy's got energy. He is on it. I mean, holy cow. Such a fascinating character to talk to, and so personable. Like, truly, I was really, is really cool. I mean, what he did and the way he shifted some of the design language in that car. I mean, oh my God, like it's really, really interesting. The transparent roof is awesome. Like, I would pay money for that on my Mini. Like, I want that. The door panels, like, you see the inner workings of everything. The handle is like this really cool ripcord for the inside of the door. I mean, there's so many thoughtful things that he did and his team did. You can't help but think man, this would be like, Mini should really consider some of these ideas. Like, they are good.
Yeah. That'd be cool. I'm glad that's another neat one you got to meet. So, I mean, yeah, what else can you touch on, Gabe, that you got to do in your whirlwind tour of the UK?
I mean, I don't know. I'm like, I saw Buckingham Palace.
Okay. Well, and then another conversation that we're going to have at another time is the fact that it appears that you now own a 1993 Dodge Ram pickup truck. So we're going to have to circle back to that.
Yeah, that's for the Ramcast, actually.
That'll be for there's an episode of Black Roof Radio tied up in that, I'm pretty sure. Because
that's a special vehicle. I love it. It's my new toy. Which is also, by the way, put away in a barn.
Well, that's sadly put away like all the rest of your cars. So otherwise, a couple of quick news hits, things really fast. If anybody's wondering, not that you can actually probably find any cars, but the manual transmission is back. So that's cool that they're able to get those again.
We're gaining the manual transmission, and we're losing Pepper White.
And we're losing Pepper White. Oh, really? I miss that.
Yeah, Pepper White's dead.
Yeah.
So is Enigmatic Black, by the way, which is the color that my car is currently.
So I've been told that there's something that's going to ultimately replace Pepper White, but there's also a lot of stuff going on right now with just production, not just production, but I should say the Mini. So the big thing we all know is, like, next year is going to be somewhat of a quiet year.
Yep.
But it's going to be the last year of these cars. So the cars that we know today are going to go away. So if you want a Clubman specifically,
Yeah.
you
Do it
better
now.
get on it.
Yeah.
Right, because they've said many times that through 25 that gasoline powered engines are going through 25. They still may, right?
They're going longer than that.
Okay, yeah. So they've
So-
extended that now.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, when I was at the plant, I actually could see on certain internal components they have date codes,
Yeah.
Mm.
and you could see date codes, and you could see when they ended. And I was politely asked not to talk about some of this, but I'll tell you that I saw date codes.
Yeah, we don't want you to
Yeah.
get in trouble.
I saw date codes that were a ways away. So my point is to say
Yeah.
that the internal combustion engine is not going away. It's alive and well, and will be continued to be sold in an F-56 derivative until the early 2030s.
Oh, good. So fingers crossed in 3 years when I upgrade my
Yes.
Countryman, I can go back to a JCW manual transmission. Fingers crossed.
Yes, and the manual transmission should be a part of that as well. So, and
Yeah.
I've written about this on Modern File before. It's a legit. I mean, it's like kind of verified, but I actually sort of double verified some of that just with my own eyes a little bit. But it's definitely gonna be continuing on. Now that said, those engines will be slightly different. They'll be mild hybrids. They might be a little heavier. There's other things that are going to be happening to the cars. So there's going to be some changes for sure. Next year will be more of what we know now than the year after. Essentially, a year from now, like the dam's about to break. The dam will break, in fact.
Right. Right, because we'll be seeing an electric Countryman introduced in the next year and things like that.
We know that the electric Countryman is part of a family of Countrymans.
Yeah.
And they will be, there's going to be a full petrol powered Countryman. There's going to be full electric, and there might be a hybrid as well.
Interesting.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Very cool.
Interesting stuff.
Yes.
Yeah,
And-
it's gonna
and-
be fun.
Now, and I haven't seen anything on this yet, but I've heard rumor of an anniversary edition Mini for Mini USA. That did I miss this? I've been out of town, so I don't know. Has anything been officially said about this yet?
No, there's nothing. I mean, they kind of missed it already. It's been 20 years, so I'm not sure.
Yeah. I didn't know whether it was a 20-year anniversary or what kind of an anniversary thing that it's going to be, but I heard rumors about it, but I don't know anything. So
there's another special edition they're releasing for next year called the multi-tone edition.
Oh, okay.
Which is not that,
No.
but it is pretty cool. I mean, it's as you can imagine, it's got a multi-tone roof, a lot of graphics. Todd, they're really leaning into the graphics.
Yeah, they are kind of leaning into that.
We're talking about special editions, but I've seen now on the road, like in the wild, 2 untold Clubman. Man,
The Untamed is what seems to be popular around here.
that untold it's terribly unique. I really like it a lot.
I do too.
Fantastic in person.
I agree, DB. I've only seen the Untold or the Clubman. That's the Untamed.
The Clubman's
what is it?
untold. The Untamed is the Countryman.
Yeah,
Right.
you're right.
Yeah. So, and the Resolute's a hardtop, obviously. But that Untold is just that in a JCW would very well be the last petrol powered car I would own.
So
Funny story. You can get it in the Countryman, like you
I
can
know.
JCW. Yeah.
No, only in the Clubman.
I mean
In
the
the
Clubman.
Clubman.
Sorry, the Clubman.
So that will be, if you want a collector's item, that's the one. That will be
The Untold
very,
JCW.
very rare.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Very rare. But it will exist. In fact, Mini USA I was actually trying to get it for a long-term loaner, but they only have one. And couldn't do it.
There's a really good chance if I have to have another gasoline powered car, and this would be a conversation for another show, just because the garage configuration is going to change probably within the next year and a half. My last car, I would really like it to be a JCW.
Yeah.
You can't go wrong, DB.
I know. I was talking to a friend who's been car shopping and they've been driving BMWs for a while, and I would just stop fucking around and just go drive a 2021 or 2022 JCW, and then
Okay.
buy it.
I'm going to recommend something, DB, when when it's time to do that.
Yeah, it's not for me. It was for a friend.
Okay. Well, when it's time, get in 19 because this still pisses me off. And Gabe, I haven't addressed this with anybody officially from Mini, and there's not a damn thing they can do about it. But these cars are way too quiet now. They've tuned out the popping with the sport button. Again, this is the second time that Mini's done this. They did it in the R56 generation when customers complained because you used to put the sport button on and you'd let off the throttle and the car would kind of pop a little bit and backfire.
Dude, I'm an old guy. I drove a 22 JCW in Palm Springs, and I was like, no, this is what I want. This is very nice. I like this a lot.
Yeah, that's right. You did drive that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, to finish my point here is that I've got two 22 or 21s. Gosh, I don't even know what year my cars are. JCWs here. I've got a Countryman and a manual hardtop JCW. And they both are so incredibly quiet compared to both my 16 and my 19 JCWs because they've programmed that out and they are so quiet and boring sounding, quite frankly, that it pisses me off, and I'm angry just thinking about it right now. And I ripped them a new one on the JD Power survey.
For your dollar.
It said for my dollar, I got my dollar's worth because I rated the car the highest marks on everything until it got to the point when, are you happy your car? What would do you wish anything were different? That's like the final, and you get to write a little essay. And boy, I let loose on that because it makes me angry. I spent $52,000 on this car, and it sounds like a Kia. It is.
Do you want to know?
It doesn't sound like a Kia though.
And I know the official word, Gabe, but I cry bullshit to the official. Like, oh well, we got.
Do you know what the official word is?
Okay, go ahead.
It's because people on the JD Power survey complained it was noisy.
Right, and that's exactly what happened in the R56 generation. And you know what? So many people complained about it that they brought it back. And I'm like, I just want somebody to give me the mapping from a car from 2 years ago. Just give me the fuel maps that are going to make this work, to make my car, pop and bang a little bit with the sport button. And you can turn it off if you want to. If you don't like it, don't turn the sport button on. That's my point. And Mini has done this once. They didn't learn their goddamn lesson in the R56 generation. Pardon my French, but it still pisses me off.
Hey, Todd.
I agree with you.
Todd, I'm going to introduce you to one of our other fellow hosts on the show, the Reverend Chad Miller from Detroit Tune, DetroitTune.com.
Hey,
so
Chad,
what he's going to recommend that you do is he's going to tell you to go and get a GP3.
Yeah, and they still don't sound very good. They're the same problem.
And then Chad will tune it for you. Not GP3, sorry, GP2. You're going to go get an R56 GP and then bring it to Chad. And he'll make spit fire and pop wheelies and do all the things that they can do with the R56 now because they have all the maps available.
Hey, Chad,
and then you can just shut up.
I'm just saying, Chad, right now, if you figure out a way to remap the F56 to where it pops and bangs again, you'll be a millionaire by the end of the year. I'm just saying.
Anyway, I like it personally.
Yeah,
I drove the 20. I drove that 22. I drove the snot out of that 22, and to me, it was exactly like driving a BMW for the M4 I drove on the track. Because it was like, no, this is exactly perfect. I'm happy with this 100%.
Yeah, but Gabe, not to be facetious about this, I've heard like the reasoning behind them are like, oh no, we have sound standards in Europe and in California, and we have to follow. And I'm like bullshit to that. Because
that's actually, I think it's the JD Power survey results. To be honest,
I think it is too. I think it is too.
Dude. Just get exhaust.
Because they pass it off. It doesn't matter, DB. An exhaust doesn't change. It just makes it slightly louder.
Yeah,
you still don't get that popping, the off throttle, the unburned that they started with the GP1 in 2006. It was the very first one. I remember we got it on White Roof Radio. You can listen to my.
So instead of getting the exhaust popping, which is cool, right? Because it's that little bit of forward advance.
Yeah.
Basically, they adjusted the advance, so it was burned a little bit extra fuel. Instead of that, now you just get the exhaust sound that goes as it goes through the car when you back off, and you can feel the car rumble a little bit, but it doesn't come out of the exhaust. So
and the Countryman's so quiet, you don't hear anything anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's annoying, but my hardtop JCW is just as annoyingly quiet.
Okay.
I have
yeah.
So a question. I have a question for Chad. if somebody's window regulator failed when the window was 2 inches down, can they bring the window up?
It's possible. It's possible. Yeah, you just have to have the right category to bring the stuff to the forefront.
So you've got to like pull it up somehow.
Like a couple of suction cups, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Couple suction cups might do it.
you have to pull it to the right place.
It's still not going to dip. It's going to thump into the car when you close the door.
yeah.
Yeah. So Todd, you're so upset that the cars are so quiet. You're probably not happy that they're going to introduce vegan interiors in 2023.
Oh, that doesn't bother me a bit.
Oh, I think
Okay.
that.
All right, cool.
I think
So I
so.
think that's really cool.
Can we talk about that? I think
Yeah.
the problem. I think people are like. I mean, obviously, there's a lot of weirdos out there right now. But like, I get it. We all love the smell of leather. Yeah, very cool.
Very cool.
This isn't about like we don't want to hurt animals as much as it is we kind of destroying the earth trying to make these things out of leather.
Yeah.
And there are materials that are pretty damn good and frankly better than leather. We've talked about cloth seats forever and how great
Sure.
they are.
Yeah.
In the right cloth seats. I think Minnie's been doing some awesome stuff with cloth. I mean, especially the wool they've been using.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good move. I don't have any problem with that at all. Of making the car more sustainable and more recyclable, if you will.
Yeah.
And it's an initiative that BMW started with the i3 when they came out with that and said like 90% of the car is recyclable. Like the cork interior, it's got cork dash and all of this fantastically renewable material, like infinitely renewable material.
Yeah, and check out Bimmer Files actually got an article on this. The plastics that are going to be going in the new BMWs from 25 on, and eventually Minis. Many of them are they're actually going to be reclaimed from fishing nets.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, that dude that's got that company who's out like driving boats to the big Pacific garbage mass out there, collecting garbage.
Yep.
He's doing that stuff. That's good.
Yep.
That's brilliant. I love it. Perfect.
Yep.
And then the last thing I want to direct you to is just click over to Motoring File. If you haven't, somebody actually took an electric Mini. They drove it from LA to Vegas. Go and see how they did it. I'm not gonna. It does actually happen. I haven't actually read it myself, but it's actually done. So here you are. Go read it. Done and done. I don't have anything else. Does anybody have anything else?
No, not at all. I'll be sharing lots of.
We do have more, but
a lot of words.
We'll have to do another show to catch up. So
yeah, be sharing a lot of stuff on Motoring File. So look for all that around Goodwood, and then look for some news on a new Mini.
cool. And make sure you guys follow Motoring File on the Instagram. That's Instagram.com/Motoring File @Motoring File. You can follow him over there, or follow Gabe on his Instagram account there at Motoring File. That's the best way to kind of stay up to date with what's going on, because Gabe's posting over there like all the time. He does stuff like this, and it's like, oh look, Gabe's in England. I had no idea, because he's posting on the Motoring File Instagram. So follow along.
See, I went to Philly and back, and nobody even knew it.
Yeah, you didn't.
You're flying under the radar though.
I am.
Todd hates the internet, so it's totally fine. Totally fine.
I'm turning into a Luddite slowly.
Yeah, it's actually I am too. I like it. It makes me happy.
I don't answer my phone. I don't return texts. That's just who I am. I'm like, no, technology sucks. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding, guys.
and I get a hard time because I really just ignore Facebook anymore.
If I don't answer your text message or phone call, it's because I don't like you.
Oh, there. Oh, I will remember that.
Wow.
I'm glad he responds to me.
Yeah, that says a lot because he never responds to me ever.
Oh, DB, shut up. I respond to all your calls.
I know, dude. I'm just kidding. That's really funny.
It's nudes, but it's cool.
Yeah. Coming back to OnlyFans.
On that note.
Black Roof Radio. Don't forget Black Roof Radio. Gang, there's a new Black Roof Radio. We put one up. It's over at Buy Me a Coffee site, right? I'll link it up in the show notes. Just go get it. If you want to kick in a buck or two to buy us coffee, hey, that's great. If you don't want to, that's fine. Just go download it. It's awesome. We talked about cannabis this week. So heads up, if you don't want to hear us talking about cannabis, skip it. Otherwise,
a very adult conversation, though. Come on.
It's a very adult conversation. There's a good chance there's a podcast in there for me because I actually, to be honest, I won't shut up about it. So,
oh yeah, go for it.
But buymeacoffee.com and what is it? Buy Roof Radio? Is that where it's at? Yeah, buymeacoffee.com/White Roof Radio. I'll link it up in the show notes. And you can go over and you can download the latest episode of Black Roof Radio. You can download all of them, actually. It's really kind of cool.
I'm going to start a new monetization structure called buymeabagoggummies.com.
Oh, love it.
That's even better. Yes, buymeedibles.com. No, that could be weird. That's borderline OnlyFans, though, because people don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
If you get some weirdos going, what? Edibles? What? So you never know. Anyway, buymeacoffee.com/White Roof Radio. You catch up on all the Black Roof Radio goodness that you've missed. MotorFile.com. Check. Detroit Tuned. Don't forget about our man Chad over at Detroit Tuned. Super busy. If you need anything, go to Detroit Tuned, of course. Check out all the OG sponsors too. Out Motoring and Craven Speed. Oh my God. You guys need to stop linking up stuff that's not from Out Motoring or Craven Speed. Please. Just stop it.
Yeah, and don't stop buying things from that 3-letter company in wherever they are.
Yes, stop doing that. Stop. You only need you go to Chad. Chad's gonna order stuff from wherever he gets it from. But if you want him to get Craven Speed stuff, he will. You want him to get Out Motoring stuff, he will. So will everybody else. Just go, hey, can you get my parts off Out Motoring? They go, yeah, sure, no problem. Or they get them from the dealer if it's cheaper. But get them wherever you need to. But outmotoring.com, honestly, good grief, you people are so weird. But we're done. Going once, going twice.
Sold.
Done and done. Thanks everybody for listening. Of course, we do love that you still listen. That's super awesome, even though we're not making regular programs anymore, but we do appreciate it. Make sure you stay subscribed just in case we do it again, because it's always fun. But this is the part of the show where I like to make that funny clicking sound, and then I say, questions, comments, or concerns, go ahead and click back over to whiteroofradio.com. There you can leave us a note in the show notes. You can also email us, feedback@whiteroofradio.com. Until next time, gang, this is DB. I'm done.
Cheers.
Peace.
Yeah.
Peace and cannabis.
Peace and cannabis.
All right, gentlemen, I am jet lagged.